On November 6, 1661, the halls of the Spanish royal palace echoed with celebration. The birth of a boy, a prince, the future of the Spanish Empire. Draped in gold and silks, baby Charles of Habsburg was laid in his cradle like a precious relic. His mother, Queen Mariana, watched over him with hope, but the midwives whispered. His limbs trembled, his cry was weak, his head too large, his tongue already swollen. No one said it aloud, but in the deepest shadows of the nursery, fear had already taken root. As Charles grew, so did the signs. The infamous Habsburg jaw had become grotesque. His lower face jutted forward. His massive tongue filled his mouth, muffling his voice. Eating was a chore, speaking nearly impossible. In portraits, artists softened his features, but in person, the deformity was undeniable, the face of an empire, reshaped by centuries of incest. Desperate for a cure, Queen Mariana turned to the dead. In one chilling ritual, she ordered Charles to lie beside the corpse of his father, King Philip IV, exhumed from the royal crypt. There, under flickering candlelight, the boy king laid motionless beside his father's bones. He said nothing. He didn't move. They hoped the strength of the dead might seep into the living, but all it gave him was silence. The priests began to whisper, the servants too. Charles was not merely sick, they said. He was cursed. El hechizado, the bewitched one. Holy men surrounded him. They chanted prayers. They sprinkled holy water. They fasted in his name. One night, friars stood by his bed, chanting into his ears as he trembled, hoping, praying, pleading. But even they began to wonder, if they cast the demons out, would anything be left? Outside the king's chamber, the court smiled, but behind velvet curtains, they laughed. Nobles wagered bets, how long until he fell, how soon until the empire collapsed. Foreign ambassadors wrote back home, describing Spain's monarch as a ghost, a joke, a puppet dressed in jewels. Charles, meanwhile, stumbled through ceremonies. He could barely speak. His robes, stuffed to fit his skeletal body, hung like costumes. They called him king, but treated him like a corpse. At 18, Charles married the French princess Marie-Louise of Orleans. She was elegant, radiant, and utterly heartbroken. The man she married smelled of rot. His breath made her gag. His body, frail and failing, collapsed with effort. They never consummated the marriage. Servants found her sobbing on the marble staircase, soaked in tears and wine. 9 years later, she was dead. Poison, some said. Grief, said others. Charles's body began to betray him. His legs swelled until they burst. His skin split open and leaked. His teeth fell out. His vomit came nightly. His urine turned red. The air in his chamber turned putrid. Bile, rot, spoiled meat. Servants gagged. Some refused to enter. Physicians bled him, fed him raw meat, chanted blessings, whispered prayers, but nothing worked. He was falling apart, one organ at a time. By the winter of 1700, Charles could no longer walk. His limbs ballooned. His lips barely moved. Courtiers avoided his gaze. No one dared utter the truth. In Spain, to speak of death was to invite it. But the smell told them. The silence told them. On October 30th, priests administered the last rites. "Do you accept the will of God?" they asked. Charles couldn't speak. He blinked. Once. That was enough. The body was open, the truth was revealed. His heart, no bigger than a peppercorn. His lungs, disintegrated. His intestines, blackened, gangrenous, splitting under touch. One testicle, shriveled. And his skull, filled not with brain, but fluid. The surgeons recorded everything, then locked the documents away. Some horrors, they said, belonged only to God. Charles II was buried in the El Escorial monastery, without a child to follow, without a legacy to uphold. The empire he inherited splintered. His death triggered a continental war. The boy born to preserve the Habsburg line had, instead, ended it. In their obsession with purity, the Habsburgs destroyed themselves. In Charles, their final product, we see the cost of that ambition. A child of empire, a king in name only, a symbol of rot. In the end, there was no dynasty left to save, only a throne and silence.